how's the writing going? And I was like, oh yeah, it's not great. And I wanted to be able to say something different, and and just to say I gave it a go. It did work. It didn't work.
Mm.
And I think that like that motivation to fulfill the thing that I've been working towards for a long time was what kind of carried me through the querying process and everything else.
It's really interesting because this morning, before we met, I was listening to a podcast. Well, I had not a podcast, I had a YouTube video going on in the background, and I can't remember who it was now. The guy was basically saying that the way you succeed is you need to work in silence, and that when you tell everyone, "Oh, I'm going to be writing a book," and he actually used the example, you tell everyone you
Yeah,
will listen, "I'm going to be writing a book," and then you never actually write the book because you spend so much energy saying I'm going to write the book. You don't actually put that energy into writing the book. So you just have to basically remain quiet about what you're doing, and then all of a sudden, ta-da!
yeah,
Like, here's
definitely.
my book. But I understand what he was saying.
Yeah, I definitely empathize with the experience of looking for like a shortcut, looking for
Mm,
a a thing that would just unlock it all for me and give me the motivation that I needed and give me the kind of the knowledge that I needed. So I did a lot of that, a lot of procrastination, reading other people's books about how they wrote their books, that sort of thing. And I think ultimately that there isn't really a shortcut. If you
no.
want to write 100,000 words, you need to start typing. And I think make kind of coming to peace with that and saying I do need to sit down and actually do this, and I need to figure out how to do it sustainably in a way that doesn't kind of wreck my mental health or make me deeply unhappy. How do I do this in a repeatable way that I can then build a career on and
Yeah.
interact? Because publishing, you know, takes what it takes, it's quite a structured process with quite it's quite deterministic, because if you think about it, publishing is all about moving large amounts of paper around, really, and it's
Mm,
all about pallets and warehouses and covers and printing presses and some big, and ultimately the printing presses and the pallets don't really care about your feelings or how you're doing.
no.
So so if you're going to engage with that ecosystem, you need to kind of go in with a good idea of how you're going to manage your time and your moods and everything else. And it really was in the last 3 or 4 years that I've sort of figured that out. I think the second book and so on is always going to be a bit more of a challenge than the first, but it's been an amazing sort of 2 or 3 years, definitely.
Because this is the thing, when you talk about persistence, and yes, persistence is all well and good, and we need to be persistent, we need to be consistent. But I don't think people talk enough about how exhausting persistence is, and what a mental drain it is, especially when you can't, especially I say no one's asking for the book at a point,
Yeah.
unless you're in a contract. You're writing in the hope of something that will happen, and you're like, I need to be persistent. But